All right, let's get through this event and move on to the main event of the evening as soon as we can because absolutely everything else in this show was filler. And I just want to talk about the main event, quite frankly. So we're going to be quick, right? The show starts, the opening is garbage. It's some fat black guy with blonde hair and glasses that I've never seen before in my life. And he's trying to be cool, but he's fucking lame as shit. Then they show us clips of what happened last night, like we didn't watch that shit, right? Then they break kayfabe with Triple H hugging Seth Rollins backstage, which was weird and completely unnecessary. Then they show Becky Lynch saying, were my posts misleading? As Seth Rollins cashes in like nobody cares about your posts. Nobody uses Becky Lynch's posts to predict what Seth Rollins is going to do in the WWE. That's just stupid, and I hated it with every fiber of my being. After this, they hype up tonight, saying we ain't seen nothing yet. All right. Then Paul Levesque, who is not Triple H as far as I'm concerned, right? This guy is so different from Triple H that I consider them two different people at this point, starting today. Everyone hates him. He comes out for no reason. He just does some self-serving trash, basically saying this is the biggest SummerSlam of all time and that, you're all part of it. And then he says, I have a question. Are you ready? Right? He's so fucking lame. Paul Levesque is one of the lamest people of all time. Triple H was passably cool. Triple H was always surrounded by much, much, much cooler people in the form of opponents like Jericho and allies like Shawn Michaels and the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn and X-Pac. He was always the biggest dork in any of his teams. In Evolution, Ric Flair was cooler, Orton was cooler, and Batista was cooler. Triple H is like the Melvin of all of his factions, even though he's the leader somehow. Anyways, whatever, right? After this, Rhea Ripley comes out and Cole gaslights us into thinking that she's something special. Wade Barrett sells out his own father and says he wishes he was Naomi during her entrance because her dad is a guitarist who plays along with her entrance, right? Eventually, the match goes on. Rhea Ripley has the match won. Naomi does a roll-up. Nobody cares. The story of the match is the same thing as it was at WrestleMania, except this time, Io Sky didn't win. It's basically Rhea Ripley can't get it done. That's the whole story that's being told here. Nobody gives a shit about Bianca Belair, Io Sky, or Naomi as far as the WWE is concerned. This is Rhea Ripley's division, and quite frankly, I don't like it. It is what it is. I don't like it. She lost, but the entire storyline of the women's Raw division is basically like, when is Rhea Ripley going to win the title? That's basically the only thing that's being told here. Everybody else feels like a placeholder. Not because they're worse, but because they're treated as such. After this, we go into the crowd. They show people in the crowd. Most of them are complete nobodies, right? And except for Tyrese Halliburton, who I just realized is in one of the downloadable packages of the DLC for 2K25, which I downloaded after my stream. He's a whopping 87, motherfucks. 87. I think Kofi Kingston is like an 81. Kofi Kingston is a former world champion. Let that sink in. Jalen Brunson is also there, and I think he's like an 85. I don't know why he's lower, but it is what it is. Anyways, after this, they go into a commercial based on the ice cream cone. The traditional chocolate-covered ice cream cone, the cone as we all call it. They have like a cone mascot, and they show him as somebody that's in the crowd. What a sneaky way to do an ad. I hated it with a passion. After this, they show the Dudley Boys and Hardy Boys because it's time for the TLC match. Keeping in mind that I believe that neither the Dudleys nor the Hardys have ever won a TLC match, but lo and behold, it doesn't matter because Dexter Lumis and fucking Joe Gacy are about to win one. You know what I mean? Like the two least deserving winners of a TLC match of all time. Anyways, the match is okay. I didn't enjoy it, if I'm being honest. There were some cool spots, namely, what's his name? Axiom, doing the Spanish fly to Dawkins onto a table to the outside, and a few other dive-like things. Ray Phoenix did a pretty cool frog splash. There were some things that were interesting, but the problem with this match was that nobody gave a flying fuck about it because everybody got involved. Candice LeRae gets involved. Nikki Cross gets involved. B-Fab, who is somehow back with the Street Profits, gets involved. And then, of course, the Wyatt family wins because Eric Rowan gets involved, right? He destroys like everybody for a while, and then both Dallas gets involved. So the Wyatt family, the Wyatt Six, I should say, win with distractions and a bunch of other interference. They didn't do much. I mean, Dexter Lumis put someone through a table. I mean, they were okay, but Quite frankly, I thought that the pacing of the match was really poor. I didn't enjoy how a lot of it went down. Like, there was a part after Rey Fenix does the frog splash, he's out of the match for like 5 minutes. The person that he did a frog splash to, I think, came back earlier. So it was really weird. I didn't enjoy that. But, like, insofar as a TLC match goes, it hit all the notes. There was a pretty cool spot where Ciampa was hanging from the belts, and he kind of like does like a sit-up, so he's like standing upside down. And he did this to avoid like an attempt at a spear or something from Nathan Frazier. I thought that was a pretty neat spot. There are a lot of like nice spots in this match, but it wasn't anything crazy. And quite frankly, nobody cares about the tag team division, so we can just move on with our fucking ass. After this, it's time for the worst match of the day. They announce it. I go and walk my dog. I walk good old Ridge the dog. I come back. Match has barely just started. This match was garbage. I hated it with every fiber of my being. It was annoying. And quite frankly, it was too botchy. At some point, Lyra gets her hands zip-tied together. Then she hugs Becky and starts headbutting her. Basically, just hugs Becky and starts shaking around like Jacob Fatu. And Becky just sells damage that isn't happening. She then belly-to-bellies her, right? It looked like ass. After this, also the crowd is completely dead, by the way, I should add. Lyra spends like a few minutes successfully fighting back with her hands tied, and this is a botchy mess as a result. I wonder who produced this. Who had the bright idea of thinking, wow, we have two women who are not very coordinated, right? Insofar as athletics go, right? We have two women that are kind of known to have botchy matches. I know. Take one of them and tie her hands together. That'll get the crowd excited. No, dumb fucks. What that's going to do is it's going to lead to more botches. That's exactly what happened. At some point, Lyra goes under the ring and hides from Becky. Becky throws her out. She hides under the ring and Becky's confused as to where she could have possibly gone. Well, check where you threw her. She checks the other side of the ring. Then, if she's not where you threw her, she must be under the ring, motherfucks. In boxing, let me tell you a quick thing about boxing. In boxing, the correct boxing stance is that you use your non-dominant hand. For example, the hater is right-handed. So you use your left hand and you cover half of your face with your left hand, including your eye. And one question, because the hater also taught boxing, one question that people ask is, well, if I cover my left eye, then I can't see from my left eye. That's right, cucks. You don't need to see from both eyes in boxing. The philosophy is this. If you can see him with the right eye, he's either to your right or he's in front of you. If you cannot see him with your right eye, he must be to your left. This is the same logic that should have been applied by Becky Lynch, but because she sucks, we didn't do that, right? She goes under the ring, gets fire extinguisher in the face, right? This match is just becoming dumber and dumber every few minutes, right? Basically, there's a toolbox right there that Lyra Valkyria could use any number of tools. Like, for example, there was a wrench, right? You could use the wrench to just like pry the things open. You just put it in between the things and you can pull even with your mouth or your foot or something, or you can ask the ref for assistance. Instead, she tries to like saw off the zip ties with like the handle of the fire extinguisher because it's sharp. It doesn't work. It's completely stupid, right? After this, and honestly, like the stupidity of this match, I think was encapsulated best in this part, where Lyra cannot get free, and Becky Lynch is swinging a kendo stick around wildly because she's been blinded by the fire extinguisher. She sells it like a complete idiot. This is basically insulting at this point. Eventually, Lyra frees herself and starts beating that ass with a fake kendo stick, which breaks immediately. The hater took kendo for like a summer one time when I was a kid, and kendo sticks do not break that easily. You will destroy somebody if you hit him with a real kendo stick. A lot of people don't know that, though, so I don't blame him, Anyways, after this, Bayley comes out as Becky Lynch is about to commit murder on Lyra Valkyria, whose head is sandwiched on a chair and she's going to hit her with a crowbar. Bayley comes and just interferes in the match. And because this is like a no DQ match, the interference is completely like justified and also just continues. You know what I mean? The interference just continues. It's not like she came in and pulled her leg or something, right? She's there, like she's like part of the match now, basically, right? Eventually what happens is, like Becky Lynch tells Bayley to end the life and career of Lyra Valkyria. Bayley refuses. She and Becky start fighting. Bayley wins. Eventually the match keeps going, right? And Bayley hits Lyra with a chain by accident from the apron as she swings at Becky. Becky wins, 0 reaction. Thank God this garbage is over. Let's move on quicker, motherfucks. It's now time for the Samoan match. During this match, I realized that one way to completely bury the Samoan stable from my perspective is to just not use their names because quite frankly, I don't have time to learn Samoan names. Tonga Loa, Tonga Medium, Tonga Smalla. I don't have time for this, all right? So from now on, JC Mateo is going to be called the Fat One. Camacho is going to be called the Jobber. and Tala Tonga is going to be called the tall one, right? So the match is completely boring, but it does have like a story, if you will, like a story within the match, like a psychology of the match. And that is basically that Solo Sikoa is a pussy, and his entire goal is to escape the cage, right? He wants to escape through the door, and basically, wants to avoid Jacob Fatu. Now, that's the story from his perspective. Jacob Fatu, on the other hand, wants to whoop Solo's ass, which I actually enjoy, and I respect that from Jacob's character, right? Jacob wants to win, of course, but he's more concerned with beating that ass, which I like. That's pretty badass, right? Eventually, the match ends exactly as it would end if it were a normal match. The cage had absolutely no bearing on this match whatsoever, right? If this was a singles match, it would end the exact same way. Eventually, the MFTs come. Eventually, Jey Uso comes. Jey Uso gets neutralized immediately, which begs the question of, now that you've neutralized Jey Uso in like 30 seconds, why don't you do what you intended to do? They didn't do anything. They just stood outside the ring. Eventually, Solo makes it to the outside, like he's hanging on from like the edge of the ring, and basically the tall one comes and kicks the door, right? And slams it into Jacob's head and Solo's head, but for some reason, it only does damage to Jacob, right? Solo then stumbles out of the ring and he retains. Meanwhile, Camacho, also known as the Jobber, he's already in the ring because he climbed into the ring, right? He climbed from the outside of the cage to the inside, did absolutely nothing, and just finds himself in the ring. Then, JC Mateo, also known as the Fat One, he appears and gets his ass beat by Jimmy Uso, who throws him into the ring. Then, Jacob Fatu whoops their asses, climbs to the top of the cage, and does a moonsault, which was pretty cool. But quite frankly, like, I'm not really impressed. I don't care. We've seen this kind of things before. But it's a nice thing. I'm sure if you were there, it'd be pretty badass, right? Then Jacob Fatu does his little dance, right? And basically, he acts like he won. It was really weird because he was like kind of smiling. Then he remembered that like he lost the match, so he showed some frustration. It was what it was. After this, it's time for AJ versus Dominique, which was a botchy mess, right? I didn't like this at all. Basically, the match is just your typical Dom Mysterio match, and they do their moves. Eventually, Dom does the Eddie spot where he grabs a chair as the referee's distracted, hits the ground, and throws it at AJ, and he falls to the ground. AJ puts a chair on his head, goes down, and starts shaking his leg as if he's having an involuntary spasm. You know what I mean? So he's doing the Eddie spot too, right? There's a lot of Eddie Guerrero references tonight, right? This was really dumb because AJ Styles is the challenger in a title match. So what if the referee turns around and decides that it's a DQ, right? Not that AJ Styles loses, but let's say he decides it's a DQ. You know what I mean? Like AJ Styles should have just taken the chair and thrown it out of the ring and then like done like a knee drop to fucking Dominic Mysterio or picked him up and Styles clashed him. You know, there was no need for him to play along, right? The only thing that would do in kayfabe is risk a DQ. The ref could be like, okay, some shit happened, I didn't see it, double DQ, right? And then AJ Styles doesn't win. None of this mattered, of course, because there's a part where Dom unzips his boot just like Eddie Guerrero did against Kurt Angle, except because it's Dom and not Eddie Guerrero, right? It didn't work out as well. Basically, Styles puts Dom in the calf crusher for like the 19th time in this match, and he has to pull Dominic's shoe off, right? Because the calf crusher is such that it's not a move where you're pulling on the leg. You see what I'm saying? So it looks unnatural. Like AJ Styles looks like, because this is exactly what he did, he looks like he's removing the boot, and then after he removes the boot, like he's clearly trying to remove Dominic's boot, right? After he removes the boot, AJ Styles has this dumbfounded look on like, what just happened? What do you mean what just happened, retard? You took off his boot. We saw you try to do it. Whereas in the Eddie Guerrero-Kurt Angle match, where this same spot was used in a different way, Kurt Angle had Eddie Guerrero in the ankle lock. And knowing that Kurt Angle's finisher is the ankle lock, not like a tertiary move like the calf slicer, right? Knowing that this was his finisher, Eddie Guerrero loosened up his boot. So when Kurt Angle does the ankle lock, a move that pulls on your leg, he, being Eddie Guerrero, can squirm out of it, right? But the way that it looked with AJ Styles, it didn't look like Dominic squirmed out of it, right? At the end of the day, you can do the calf slicer without a boot, right? But if you grab someone's ankle for an ankle lock, you have to grab their boot. So if someone gets out of their boot, the move is moot, right? That's exactly what happened over there, and this time it didn't work. Basically, this leads to Dominic hitting AJ in the head with a boot, hitting the frog splash, and winning. Obviously not clean, but with no interference. He won fair and square, right? He won within the rules of the match. The referee didn't see him cheat, so you cheat to win, and you're good to go. After this, it's time for the main event. And I will say this, motherfuckers, I'm not going to lie to you. The main event was an excellent match. I really, really enjoyed the match, except the problem was that there was this hovering force of what I thought was going to happen, which is The Rock was going to come out. So it wasn't until later in the match when I realized that there's a possibility here that the match is just a match, right? Another thing that I think should be mentioned is that Cena being a face here has absolutely no bearing on anything, right? He didn't use the title belt, right? And there was a spot that had to do with that. But I realized, because I had forgotten, that this was a street fight. So if Cena uses the title belt, or even if he low blows Cody, right? This is within the rules. This is not necessarily a heel move. The low blow maybe, because that's just like dirty fighting. But the belt is not a dirty move because they're hitting each other with turnbuckles. They're hitting each other with chairs. They're hitting each other like, they're putting each other through tables. A lot of shit was happening, right? So like, with that being said, it's like, there is really no opportunity here for anybody to turn heel unless The Rock comes out. So I'm thinking The Rock's got to come out because how else is Cody going to turn heel? What, he's going to hit Cena like in the head with a chair? So what? This is part of the match. Like they started out the match like that. They started out with weapons, which I thought was pretty cool because a lot of times in street fights or like last man standings or any of these kind of matches that are like that, they first do like a bunch of chain wrestling and a bunch of bullshit. Then eventually they get to the weapons part. This match was high octane from the beginning, right? Cena carried this match as far as I'm concerned. And in my opinion, exposed Cody and exposed the business. So let's go through the match because it was that good. We got to go through it, right? First, the match starts and Michael Cole says that Cody Rhodes and Cena were the last two in the Rumble, which is obviously retarded because Jey Uso won the Rumble, right? Then, realizing this, Michael Cole says they were the last three. No, they weren't. Cody was the champion, retard. Are you stupid? Like, who the fuck do you think was champion during this time? Cody wasn't in the Rumble, cuckold. So anyways, that's automatically, like, in my opinion, a category 10 error from Michael Cole. But at this point, I'm starting to find it charming because Michael Cole just has no fucking clue what's going on. Michael Cole is just so bad at his job. It's just like you can't be proud of the career you have if you're Michael Cole because you know you should have been fired hundreds of times. You know what I mean? They just keep you. I don't know why. Maybe he has footage of Brock Lesnar and Triple H getting it on or something. I don't know what to tell you, you know? There's no other explanation as far as I'm concerned. And maybe he had footage of Vince and Triple H getting it on so he can use it to blackmail both. I don't know what to tell you, motherfucks. But basically, the match is back and forth. The fans do not like Cucky. Cena, at some point, does the code red. He does it better than Zelina, better than Roxanne combined, and better than any other luchador except for Rey Mysterio that I've seen them do it. And it rivaled Rey Mysterio's. So there goes that theory of Cena only has 5 moves, right? Eventually, the fans are complete idiots and start chanting, you still got it. He's the WWE champion, you dumb fucks. Of course, he still got it. You say that when Goldust comes out at number 3 in the Royal Rumble and does like a suplex. Then you say, you still got it, because you haven't seen him in 1,000 years, and he hasn't achieved anything in recent times in WWE, right? When Cena comes out as the greatest wrestler of all time, right, and the current best wrestler in the company by virtue of being the WWE champion, right? You know, like, chanting you still got it makes absolutely no sense. Cena does an AA on Cucky from one table to the other table, right? This was not the first AA, and it sure as shit wasn't the last. Cody kicks out and then hits the crossroads, but Cena kicks out. At this point, I'm thinking we're just waiting for The Rock, you know what I'm saying? Cena does nothing but, not nothing. That's nothing but net, because I looked at my notes. Nothing but net. He does like the Cena famouser from the top rope. I wrote Cena does nothing but net, but then I read it wrong. Cena does nothing but net, and in my opinion, does it better than Carmelo Hayes. You know what I mean? So there goes that theory, right? We don't need Carmelo Hayes, who does that move botchy all the time, oftentimes kicks the person on the back. Cena did it better. He did the code red better. It's like Cena's fucking carrying this company for 15 years, motherfucks. After this, once again, you know, they go outside, and now they do like the outside segment, right, where they're just fighting at ringside, and Cody eventually suplexes Cena on a guardrail that has been put down diagonally, right? Barrett says, oh, there's no give whatsoever on that thing, right? As the guardrail is bent in half, which means there obviously was give. Just, I understand this is, I'm trying to like not nitpick or anything like that, but the reality is you got to think about what you say before you say it, right? Like, he could have said something like, all the give that thing had, which was very little, was like evident in it breaking or something, anything like that, right? Instead of saying something that's completely untrue, which is kind of like par for the course in this company. People just say things that are complete lies, you know? And they hinge these lies on the fact that most fans are just retarded. So if they don't understand, they're like, oh, I had no give. You know what I mean? After this, they go like inside of the ramp, right? There's like a curtain. They go inside of the ramp. If you didn't see it, I can't explain it better than that. Cuts like underneath the actual ramp. There's like a curtain. They go inside, and obviously they're going to come out of the Cody Rhodes elevator from the entrance, right? I thought, and this one got me, because I thought what would happen is Cena would be laid out, and Cody would come out in his pose, like he's doing his entrance again. But instead what happens is Cena has Cody in the fireman's carry. Then he flings him across the ring, or not across the ring, across like the ramp basically, and AAs him, right? But it was like a flinging AA. It wasn't like a slam. It was like a throw. It looked pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie to you, motherfucks. However, I will say that the whole thing is dumb because, like, at this point, it's like nobody should be able to survive all the damage Cody has done. And that is something that I didn't like, right? Cena is, like, murdering this fool the entire time, and then Cucky does, like, a DDT at some point, and Cena nearly dies, and it takes him, like, forever to, like, recover. You know what I mean? This was rectified later on, but at the time, it looked really dumb because Cena's doing, like, finishers. He's putting on the STF. He's doing the AAs. He's bringing out all the hits. He's doing the Code Red for the first time in a long time. He's doing the Cena Famouser for the first time in a long time, right? And despite all of this, Cody's just like there, answers with like one DDT and goes for the pin and gets a 2 count as well. You know, it's really stupid, but whatever, right? Eventually, Barrett says Cody is a big dude as Cena picks him up again and Fireman carries him all the way to the ring. This I like. I like this spot because Cena then kind of like unloads him under the apron. And then Cena's like tired from carrying Cody, both physically, down the ramp and figuratively throughout this match. Cena is carrying this match, right? And then Cena goes in the ring and Cody just no-sells everything and throws Cena through a table that had been placed in the corner earlier. But this made sense, right? Even though Cody got flung with an AA, the fact is he also just got carried to the ring, right? So Cena's tired from carrying him and Cody has been resting on Cena's shoulder, So basically, they played it off as Cody was playing possum, which is really dumb because Cena could have just thrown him, but he didn't. Whatever, right? Then he hits the crossroads, and Cena obviously kicks out because The Rock isn't here yet. That's what I'm thinking, motherfucks. The fans chant Super Cena like the morons that they are. Like, if anything, Super Cody would have been more apt because all Cody has done in this match is a DDT, a suplex on the guardrail, and one crossroads. So how is Cena Super Cena? Meanwhile, Cody's been AA'd like 3-4 times. He's been put in the STF multiple times. And despite this, he's still going strong, motherfucks. So basically, as that goes on, I should say, right? Cody then hits Cena with a chair. He just gets a chair and hits him with it. Then he unscrews the bottom turnbuckle, which was a nice touch, right? To pick up the turnbuckle, which is kind of like a super weapon in wrestling. You know what I mean? They never do it, but when they do it, it's like a super weapon, right? I don't understand that. You can just use the chair again. Same thing would happen. He bashes Cena on the head twice, right? He like running bashes him twice, and then like Cole is like, Cody's begging the referee to stop it. How about just pin him? Why are you begging the ref to stop the match? Just pin his ass. You know what I mean? And that's not what happens. The turnbuckle spots, the attacks, they look botchy, but that's because you can't really hit someone with like a turnbuckle on the head because it's gonna hurt like hell, right? After this, Cody comes off kind of like as the heel, and Cena comes off as like the underdog, right? The fighting spirit of the underdog. And this thing got me a little bit, right? Eventually, after this, Cena just counters the incoming third hit into an STF and uses the rope, which has come along with the turnbuckle, to choke him, right? Super Cody gets out and does this shitty headlock with the rope, which has absolutely no bearing on the move. The fact that he also had a rope while he was doing a headlock didn't add anything to the move. Whereas when Cena did it with the rope, he did the STF with the rope, that's like, that must be much more painful, right? So anyways, after this, basically Cody gets out and does the 3 crossroads in a row, and Cena kicks out, motherfucks. That's my fucking goat right there, you know what I mean? Now the Cena fans justifiably start chanting, Super Cena! Cody then grabs the belt, and then Cena, doesn't do anything. He just whoops his ass, and then basically grabs the belt, does like a spot, right? Well, first he does the double AA. Cena does the double AAs, right? Then, 2 AAs, one after the other, picks up the belt, does this nah gesture, throws it away, and puts Cody up for the Avalanche AA, which he hits. Cody kicks out, and the match becomes absurd immediately. Now, this absurdity doesn't take away from the fact that this was a great match. I thoroughly enjoyed it, right? But it does take away from the fact that, nobody should be able to kick out of 5 AAs. That's never happened before. And, 2 of them in rapid succession, the third one immediately after being a Avalanche AA, It's like nobody should be able to kick out of 5 finishers. That's just stupid, you know? And in my opinion, the presentation of both Cena and Cody as these superstars, as these superheroes that cannot be beaten, really undermines the rest of the roster that goes down to 1 AA. Like Roman Reigns, for example, at WrestleMania, you know, it didn't take Cody that much. All that had to happen was like the bloodline needed to be neutralized, and Cody just beat him man to man, right? Like Roman Reigns was not presented as this like, you know, threat that cannot be overcome. He was presented as just another champion with like he's like JBL, right? Like he wins by cheating, and that's it. He's not impressive. It's like if Booker T hits the scissors kick on JBL once, you expect JBL to go down probably, right? And same thing with Roman Reigns, but not with Cucky because he's taking him like a bitch. So anyways, that shit goes down. After this, Cena goes and gets a table, sets it up, and then goes to put Cody up for the Super AA, and that's when we all know the match is going to end, and Cody's going to win because the same move twice in a row literally has never worked out one time in wrestling. I don't think it's ever worked out. Maybe like an ROH or some shit, right? Basically, as Cena does that, Cody struggles out of it, jumps up to the turnbuckle, and does the worst-looking Cody Cutter of all time. Like if they call it an avalanche Cody Cutter, and I suppose it is, because Cena was up higher than one normally would be for a Cody Cutter. So he does that, and then Crossroads Cena salutes him, crossroads him, and wins, right? And we have a new champion in the Cuckster himself. They hug, and Chody cries. Chody Rhodes cries again, motherfucker. After this, Michael Cole says another lie, like the 15th or so of his like tenure. Well, not tenure, because just there's been at least 10 lies tonight, you know? I mean, perhaps 15 lies this week, you know? He says, like, these two men meant the most to his career. What? Cena I get, because he's been there for Cena's entire career. Cody Rhodes was irrelevant until like 3 years ago. So go fuck yourself, Michael Cole, you lying sack of shit. After this, the fans thank Cena, but he ain't gone, cucks. He ain't gone. He's got another 4 months. Cody Rhodes leaves to give Cena like the opportunity to like, you know, to like have like a send-off, I guess. I don't even know what the point was. The fans are thanking him. It's the last SummerSlam. You know, Cena deserves this moment. And then I'm thinking, all right, The Rock's coming, but something better happened. Instead of a beta male, the alpha male of our species, the man beast himself, Brock Lesnar appears, right? Brock Lesnar, he's just looking like bloated a little bit. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be honest. But he's still Brock Lesnar. He's still a freak athlete, even at 48. Him and Cena are the same age. It's just that Brock Lesnar just like was so undeniable that while Cena was like a jobber teaming with like Bull Buchanan as B squared, you know what I mean? Brock Lesnar was already the world heavyweight champion, like, you know, at WrestleMania. So that's another thing that pissed me off, by the way. When Cody wins, they're like, the new undisputed WWE champion. What about the world heavyweight championship? How is it undisputed? Seth Rollins can easily claim, I'm the real champion. It's not undisputed at all, dumb fucks. Learn what the word undisputed means. It is easily disputed because there are 2 champions. Fucking dumbasses. It's called the undisputed title because it was disputed because Raw had a champion, right? And SmackDown had a champion, and Roman Reigns won both. He beat Drew in a champion versus champion match. Then it became undisputed. But now that the World Heavyweight title is there, it's no longer undisputed. It should just be called the WWE Championship. Anyways, again, I'm nitpicking, motherfucks. Basically, Lesnar comes out. Michael Cole loses his mind. He's like, the beast is here. Like, the word is beast, you know? It's not based. The beast is here. What the fuck are you basting? A Thanksgiving turkey with your cock? Anyways, Brock Lesnar comes out there. He gets in the ring. He like runs into the ring aggressively so as to suggest that he's going to attack John Cena, right? Because he could have come there to shake his hand. Who the fuck knows? Probably not, but you never know, right? So he comes in there like aggressively. Cena tries to fight him off. He gets F5'd immediately, and Lesnar leaves, and that's the end of the show, right? So now, you know, I will say this. A couple of things here. Number one, obviously, it's always good to see Brock Lesnar. I love Brock Lesnar. You love Brock Lesnar. Everybody loves Brock Lesnar, right? Number one. 2, it's good to see that, like, the fact that he was connected to Vince and that lawsuit and possible prosecution, which I don't think is going through, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't read up on it in a while, right? The fact that he's connected to that ancillarily does not hold him back from being in WWE. Number 1. 2, like, generally speaking, number 2, it's good to see Lesnar back in any capacity because Lesnar just rules. And 3, it's good to see Lesnar come back because, quite frankly, I think we do need one more Cena-Lesnar match, right? And in my opinion, Cena should come out on top, right? Like, they might make it so Lesnar retires Cena, but, like, in my opinion, Cena should beat Lesnar, right? One of my favorite matches of all time, and this match was really good too. I will say this, as the match is over, I will say this is, like, as close as it gets to me to be a 5-star match. This was an excellent match, and the story that was told was great. Right? Nobody needed to turn heel. This is the match we should have gotten at WrestleMania. right? John Cena's heel turn was really stupid. In my personal opinion, right? It makes more sense now that Lesnar came back because he's going to be the heel, obviously. But it would have been better if Cena went into this match as a heel because the match would have played out the exact same way, right? Cena would do the things that he did. He would use weapons. He would use, not dirty tricks, but he would use weapons, right? And people would still cheer him. Nothing would change. You know what I mean? So if Cena just did this, right, then after the match, Cucky beats him, and then Cena just does the spot where he gives Cucky the title, and he has like a face turn that moment, right? That would have been beautiful. Kind of like Hulk Hogan turned face when like The Rock beat him. You know what I mean? He had the NWO come on and attack him or try to attack The Rock, and he protected The Rock and turned face, but it doesn't matter. The point is, the same thing could have happened here. Cena could have turned implicitly face. Then Lesnar comes out, right? And maybe Lesnar gets in Cody's face and Cena says, Brock, relax, right? Then he F5 Cena, right? And then he F5s Cody as well, because who the fuck cares? Yeah, that would be much better in my opinion. But again, I understand that that's a little bit nitpicky. You know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the match and the segment was ruined as a result of that, right? This was unforeseeable. I will concede. In my previous video, I made several predictions, and this was not one of them. You know, in fact, I didn't even predict the possibility that this would be a face versus face just match with no chicanery at all, which I like. I thought that made it great. The whole time, I'm dreading The Rock coming and ruining this match, which I think would go down as an all-time classic, right? I understand there's a lot of false finishes, but in a match like this, it's understandable, right? This is the same thing as, like, let's say, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. I know it's not Cena's last match, but it's his last, like, important match, right? Like, I don't think Cena's going to get another world title run, you know? So Cena, in his last match as WWE champion, and likely his last WWE championship match period, right? He needs to kick out of everything, and his opponent must also kick out of everything in order to overcome Cena, right? Just like The Undertaker beat Shawn Michaels, right? And I'm not comparing Cody to The Undertaker, obviously, right? Shawn Michaels also did a lot of shit to Taker. He did the moonsault. He got countered with the moonsault. He did a goddamn enormous amounts of sweet shit music. He nearly won in both matches, right? And that was the idea. Like Stone Cold said, where Shawn Michaels asked him, he's like, do you think I can beat The Undertaker? And then Stone Cold's like, hell yeah, I think you can beat The Undertaker. Do I think you will? No, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that is fine. In a match like this, we can reserve situations for multiple false finishes. But because you get like 2 false finishes in a Gunther versus Jey Uso match, now you have to have 5 false finishes in this match, right? The standard has been raised. If the standard was almost everyone goes down to a finisher, right? To one finisher, and then like, you know, so Gunther and Jey Uso ends with 1 finisher, then this match would have had 2 false finishes, and it would have been just as good, right? In my opinion, this match exposes the industry completely, so there are negatives to it, but the match itself was very enjoyable. And quite frankly, if this would have been Cena's last match, that would have been nice, but it's not. It's going to be Cena versus the man beast himself at some point, and once Brock Lesnar comes out on top, like, I think Cena should win the match, but ultimately, Lesnar, I think he's coming back for like a minute, right? Like, we can expect Lesnar right now to wrestle at WrestleMania, right? And it's probably going to be him versus Cucky. There's no other match to make, right? Because everybody else just looks like shit compared to Cucky. Like, you have Seth Rollins, who can't beat LA Knight, who has to fake an injury to win, right? And then LA Knight doesn't show up for another like month and a half after that. So Cody is the only person here that is booked like a main eventer. And Lesnar, like, if Lesnar wrestled Gunther, or like if Lesnar wrestled like Jey Uso, you should expect like the same thing that happened with Lesnar and Kofi Kingston, right? It should be a 5-second match. He picks him up and humbles Jey Uso real quick, forever sending him to the mid-card or tag division again, just like Kofi Kingston. Remember that? Kofi was the world champion. Like 5 seconds later, F5, Kofi's back to being a mid-card jobber. And has been as such for the last like 10 years? It's been a minute, you know what I mean? Maybe not 10 years, but it's been a while. So with that being said, you know, that's where we find ourselves up in this bitch. You know, Brock Lesnar's back, motherfucks, deal with it. So I really hope that Brock Lesnar defeats Cody for the title, because the worst thing about this match, obviously, right? Like if Cena had won this match, I would put this in like a top 10 matches of all time for me, because the finish of a match like doesn't necessarily impact the match, but it does impact my attitude towards it, right? And if Cena overcame Cucky fair and square one more time, Cena did what he does, and that is be the underdog, at least partway through the match, and come out on top. And this was also one of the best matches in-ring wise for Cena. It's like this one, and then there's like a few with AJ Styles. You know, Cena, quite frankly, in his early career, he didn't have that many great matches, but later on, he had like some epic matches. You know, so with that being said, like that would have been it for me. But because Cookie Rhodes won, that means that we now have to tolerate Cookie Rhodes as world champion again, which we all know is gonna suck ass, motherfucks. So you know that part sucks. It's not even bittersweet. It's just bitter. It's like we have to deal with Cookie himself again as champion. I don't think anybody wants that. Hopefully, Cookie just drops it really quick. But to who? I mean, it has to be to Brock Lesnar. You know, imagine. And here's the hater fantasy booking. Imagine if somehow, let's just say that the man beast himself beats Cookie like soon, right? Like Cena's gone for a while, let's say, right? The man beast just beats Cookie, which is why he should have attacked Cookie today. He beats Cookie Rhodes' ass, maybe the same way he beat Kofi Kingston's ass. And then Brock Lesnar just becomes him, right? He just becomes Brock Lesnar again. You can even give him Heyman for all I care, right? And he's just Brock Lesnar back at it, right? Nobody's safe. He's just going to beat the shit out of everybody. Then our hero emerges. The people's champion himself, John Cena. Big match. John comes and challenges Brock Lesnar and wins the 18th title, ridding the WWE from Brock Lesnar in his retirement match. Then you have like a 32-man tournament. I don't give a fuck what happens. After that, Mr. Iguana can be champion for all I care. You can just cancel wrestling. You know, nobody gives a shit anymore. So I know that's never going to happen because Cena's not going to get 18 because you know someone within our lifetimes is getting 17. You know what I'm saying? Someone's getting 17. Someone's probably getting 18 within our lifetimes because WWE likes to re-break records. And not just within our lifetimes, but probably within Cena's lifetime, right? Which is kind of our lifetimes, at least my lifetime, because he's only like 11 years older than me. So, you know, it's probably going to happen. So, you know, like, they're not going to give Cena an 18th, but that is the real, like, feather in the cap. And I'm not talking about Brock Lesnar's hat, although I bet my hat that would draw big money. And it will. Cena versus Lesnar is going to be epic, you know? It's going to feel like a main event again. The only people capable of putting on main events, there's like 4 men in the WWE that are capable of doing this. And 2 of them, or 3 of them arguably, aren't even like, 4 of them arguably, aren't even there, you know? Cena, Roman Reigns, I hate to say it, but like if you put Roman Reigns against like The Rock, that's a big deal. But that's it. Like it's only against The Rock. Like Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, like nobody wants to see that shit anymore, you know? So, or Roman Reigns versus Gunther, like it's a fuck. So, or Roman versus Seth, fuck out of here, right? So, you know, Roman, Rock, Cena, and Brock Lesnar. That's it. Everybody else is just a mid-card jobber, like, you know, masquerading as a main eventer. So the way I see it, motherfucks, is this is a good thing overall that Lesnar's back. I really hope Cena beats him. Even if he doesn't, who gives a shit? Like, it would have been good to see Cena versus Lesnar. Like, even if it's like heel Cena versus face Lesnar, that would have been an interesting dynamic. Right? And Cena can be like a cowardly heel instead of being an aggressive heel like he normally is. You know? That'd have been nice. And also, more importantly, it would have been nice to see Cena against Lesnar for the WWE title. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to see that like in the same capacity that you see like El Grande Americano versus like Penta. You know what I mean? No, we want to see a world title match, you know? And that's what WWE hasn't done very well recently. But today was an exception because today it was awesome. And I know that this video went on and on and on, but I had to pay respect to that match. I had to give it the respect that it's due. And quite frankly, you know, I took some good notes. So I talked about the other matches too, cuckolds. Sue me and kiss my ass. But the point is, you know, I now, for the first time in a long time, am a little bit excited about what's going to happen next in the WWE. Problem is, when's it going to happen? Who the fuck knows? Probably in a month. Probably in like a month and a half, Lesnar's going to come back. The same way that Roman Reigns came back at SummerSlam last year. And then like a month went by and then he came back again. And then like, that's it, you know? So hopefully that happens. It'd be cool to see that. It'd be cool to see even Roman versus Brock one more time. But again, this needs to be for the world title, you know? This cannot be for like nothing, right? And when I say the world title, I mean the WWE one. You know, not the bullshit one that Seth Rollins holds. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if someone said it's gonna be Lesnar versus Cena for the World Heavyweight title, like, I'd be like, why don't you just make it for the WWE Speed Championship while you're at it? You know what I mean? It has the same level of prestige. So there you have it. I mean, the show still, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you take this show and you combine it with yesterday's show, which we have to do, I still think it's one of the worst SummerSlams of all time. Simply because Cena, even Cena, motherfucks, even Hercules himself, John Cena, Big Match John, even he cannot carry this event above mediocrity, right? Even he cannot do that. So overall, I didn't enjoy the event. Most of the matches were shit. This is very similar to the Elimination Chamber, where it's like, there's like one big moment, right? But the event otherwise is garbage. Except for this one, we also had a pretty good match. And we saw Brock Lesnar F5 Cena. The F5 is always fun to see. So, for better or for worse, that's what they gave us today. I hope to see more of Brock Lesnar. I hope to see more of John Cena. And it's very bittersweet that Cena's retiring. So take care of yourselves. Go fuck your mother.